My name is Christian Basel. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a Tardis. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hangin web show, this is the legend of the traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basel. I'm sorry if you're not watching this on the YouTube channel. You're not being entertained right now. So we're going to introduce the show. Simon and Melanie were doing a countdown. So I'm like, which one of you am I watching to count me into the show? Oh God, this is going to be a great episode there. Hello, everybody, and welcome back, fellow Whovians, to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basel, introducing my wonderful and lovely co-host, artist Melanie Dean. How you doing there, Melanie?
Doing quite well. Hope everybody else is doing well as well.
I'm hoping you're also subscribing to our good friend on the YouTube channel, Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress. Brian, welcome back. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, hanging in there. How about yourself?
Not bad. Just give me a little taste of the Omega Files for people who don't know that particular side of you there. They know Dr. Freedom, but tell us a little bit about Omega Files.
It's basically me and a bunch of friends get together. We'll talk about either that week's episode of Doctor Who, or when the show's not on, we'll discuss various other things, movies, things like that. We have a lot of fun just doing it. So we invite people to come in and join us in the conversation, so to speak.
Gotcha there. And welcoming back our favorite blue man, it is Simon Fisher Becker. He's got a book coming out, and we're going to talk more about that in the final segment of the show. Simon, welcome back. You were on a cruise. How was it?
Well, it was wonderful just before Christmas. Met up with some old friends, made new friends, and came back home with the flu.
Oh, gosh.
I got off the plane at Heathrow and sneezed. And that was it.
Oh.
My Christmas had gone. I woke up again on New Year's Day.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you're trapped in a boat all day, and you have everybody with their sickness spreading their sickness. But hey, it's an all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-drink bar. So that's all that matters out there in that boat out there. And we're welcoming him back. We had his better half on the last show. Now we've got, the other half. Which one is the better half anyway?
Oh, Kevo. Kevo's definitely the better half.
I'm
the other one. You get the Kevo and you get the other one.
This is a good place to consider there. We have Nico, and please forgive me if I butcher it, Vasilo. Did I get it right?
It's one of those last names that got Ellis Island, so you did the best any human being can hope to do.
Okay. But I want to get it right. How do you pronounce it?
That. It's just not a real last name.
Yes.
Vasilo, if you want to check out his podcast with his husband, Kevo, it is Husbands Talking More or Less. You can also check out Kevo on Kid Rock Comics on Instagram. Nico, tell us a little bit about Husbands Talking More or Less. Just give it a little brief synopsis.
Yeah, Kevo and I have a little too much fun deep diving into media. So we have Husbands, where we've done deep behind the scenes investigations into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Alien and Predator franchises, Star Wars. And we also have X's for Podcast, where we have a weekly investigation into everything X-Men. Everything X-Men.
Gotcha there. Well, folks, welcome, guys. Thank you for coming. And for all of you just joining us, whether you're listening to iHeartRadio, and now I've just finally found out, it took me a while, that's how far behind I'm in, Apple Podcasts now. It's no longer iTunes. So if you're on the Apple Podcast or Krypton Radio, thank you for joining us and welcome. If you're watching us on YouTube, I think you're just getting a little treat from us right now there. We're going to be reviewing Fugitive of the Judoon, and my goodness, wow. Just wow. That's pretty much the review I can give to it now without really spoiling it. And I got to say something in this introduction. Because it's been bothering me, and it bothered me since up until now. Is the BBC becoming its own bad spoiler child?
Yeah,
seriously.
No. Fury. I am made of fury. I am made of human rage. Kaplonk. I am like.
because of After Tesla, I've stopped following or the notifications for BBC.
Yeah.
I did not look for anything UK related time. I was just staying away from social media, and then found out on our own little private feed that XYZ spoilers are coming out. I'm like, are you kidding me? How? I'm like, I'm done. I'm done following these people.
Seriously, Brian, I could actually tell you the whole episode that just premiered in the BBC from everybody's social media. I actually went off for a while, and then the big reveal of a particular other doctor showed up, and I'm like, oh, great. Well, thanks. What was that for? And then when I least expected, John Barrowman puts out his spoiler. I'm like, my goodness, it's not even in the US yet. And a lot of people have been sending me messages like, Christian, I even wrote on the Traveling Tardis Facebook page for those to see. I said, if you do not want to be spoiled, please stay off the social media. I don't care who you're following. I don't care where you're going. Just, I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, just stay off social media after the premiere. So, I mean, you got lucky. It's in your country, but it's, you've got to...
But we get sort of pre-spoilers in that there are people who think they're in the know. And generally speaking, they're totally wrong. But just occasionally, they're spot on. So that's I don't see this fascination in wanting to know what's coming up next. I like to watch, particularly Doctor Who. I like to switch it on and watch it, and then talk about it amongst friends. But as for putting on Facebook, they should, I agree with you, they should give at least 2 days.
Well, it was on Facebook. John Barrowman put on his Twitter feed, and I was just like, are you kidding me? And literally people were discussing the episode. And I think it's time that we have another spoiler episode, a 2020 version of the spoiler revamp after everything is said and done with the BBC and saying their own nightmares in there. Speaking of nightmares, we're going to be doing the rating scale for the Fugitives of Judoon, as we normally do. Now, everybody, do me a favor, close your eyes, except for Melanie. She's going to see my number, and everybody in the YouTube channel is going to see what I rated this. And then the gentleman will be able to decide. Simon, close your eyes.
Oh, so... Yeah.
Because I like Brian's the only one that's not going to know.
You guys are going to guess what I rated it. This is only, and for the folks on the YouTube, they're going to get to see what I rated it, and everybody's going to try to guess what I got. Yes. Alrighty. Well, welcome back, gentlemen. We're going to start with Melanie Dean, since she's seen my number. What did you rate between 1 and 10? Yeah, you can look. What did you rate between 1 and 10? 1 being awful, 10 being great. Fugitive of the Judoon.
I gave, oh Lord, okay, so I keep going back and forth on this rating. It is lower than my Tesla rating. It is going to be a 9.
Okay.
So low.
That's awfully low there.
I know.
Great.
I keep going back and forth because I wanted to give it a 9.5, but I really like the Tesla one, and that was the Tesla rating, so I wanted to make it just a little. How about 9.25? How about that?
9.25.
We'll go 9.25.
Oh, wait.
God, everyone's just high school.
We're cut this TARDIS in
We're
half.
cutting this TARDIS different spaces.
Okay, 9.25. Brian, what would you rate this episode?
Oops, I hit the wrong button.
It's like we can't hear him.
For only the second time in the entirety, despite popular belief, for only the second time in the entire Chibnall era, I gave an episode a 10.
Wow. Okay. We're going for perfection on there. Simon, my good friend, who got to see this episode first before all of us, what did you rate this episode?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult because whilst watching it, I found I was transfixed. I was leaning forward in my chair, not wanting to breathe in case I missed something. Okay. Absolutely didn't see the revelation of another Doctor at all. Then I did have a puzzle period whilst I was trying to work out, well, if the Doctor can't remember her, so is she a Doctor in the future or in an alternative? So I had that excitement, and it was, I thought, very well done. So, but there was, like there has been with every episode, a sort of lecture, about how you should behave or what you've learned, and it's very much there's a school teacher element to it, which
the moral play.
Yeah, Which I personally is the thing I don't like. I like to see and watch and listen to something,
Yes.
and come to my conclusions rather than be told what I should have learned from the episode. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So for
So what's
that
your
reason,
number?
so for that reason, I gave it a 7.5.
Okay, 7.5. Nico, let's round it up. What did you get?
You know, I felt like this was every element I love from every RTD episode. I mean, from the Chameleon Arch to the threat of a classic Who villain somehow being boiled into like a middle season episode. Like, it was just like, it was so many things I love about the Doctor, but at the same time, it kind of tried to act like it was no big deal. And so some of the trappings that tried to underplay the severity of the episode in order to keep us on the seat of our, like, by the seat of our pants, like, I felt the last few episodes could have each been 10-minute like segments. This should have been 2 parts. And only because I felt like this could have been longer. 8.5, which is like the best number I've given any Doctor Who episode in 2 series, despite loving 13. I'm just a stickler for, you know, tennis perfection. So
thank you, Steely Dan. There's an inside joke on that. Anyway, so we got.
I know so many people with Steely Dan inside jokes. That's really amazing. I have a Bodhisattva joke with somebody, so that's really fudging crazy.
You know what? I thank you, brother. Thank you. Gotcha. Well, we got our scores out over there, and I won't say that. I won't reveal my score until the end, but I will say this: I'm not the lowest score in this bunch over there. It's going to go to Simon, 7.5. So, Simon, tell us, what did you like about this episode, and what kind of missed the marker on this particular episode?
Well, as I said, the main thing I didn't like is the lecture, but the performances were good. I loved having this second TARDIS revealed at a gravestone. I enjoyed that very much. The Judoon aspect, I thought was very thrilling at first, but its section of the Judoon was a little too long for me. They came along, they wanted to do something. And so for me, and it's just a personal thing, I thought, okay, we've established that bit, let's move on. Jack Harkness coming back. That
added 2 points to any of it. Whatever I would have scored would have added 2 points.
So that was
maybe
really,
more.
really good. But then I was thinking to myself, well, all he did was he appeared just to warn us about something that's coming in the future. Which is good.
He rose on a monitor?
Yeah, that's it. You know, he just appeared to say that some other ancient villain is coming along. So
I think that's because I think that's the dynamic. I bet you, and I wanted it because one of the things that Jack Harkness said is, I want to see this, meaning that he wanted to see the 13th Doctor, the female Doctor, and whatever he was going to do. And I think that's what audiences wanted. And Chibnall just pulled the rein and said, nope, not this episode. It's not going to happen there. Also, we got a minute left, but I'm glad you mentioned the grave sites, because I don't know why it harkened back to the name of the Doctor. And remember that they found a tombstone that reveals it. I thought that was something that they were harkening back. And is this something that is supposed to reveal something else? Because I know there are so many clues dropping in this episode, as far as every episode, as far as going back to Spyfall as to what's going to be revealed. And Chibnall, for your sake, you better have something good on the end of this. I hope you don't mess it up out there. But
I mean, from the double TARDIS referencing the end of Clara, that idea that there's a second TARDIS out there, this really felt like it was a best touchstone moments of so many things in the revival. I really found myself like, wow, did they do a Facebook Memories of the Doctor for this? This is incredible.
Well, Nico, you were the next one to register an 8.5, which was the next lowest score. But we're going to continue on. We got a hard commercial break. When we return, Nico's going to tell us more about why he scored what he scored. When we come back, please continue to listen, stay tuned, and become part of the legend.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop. George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo and their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good Things Always Happen in Springtime, from author Joanne Fisher, on Amazon.com today.
Alien invaders enslave Earth.
Unleashing hunters into the ruin wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and adventure.
In the Scion series
by Michael J. Allen.
Beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
This is very chic. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basel. We're here with Brian, better known as Dr. Freed, and we're here with Nico, Melanie, and Simon Fisher Becker. And we're now on with Nico in his score of 8.5. So you said, did you say, no, it was Brian. I'm sorry. Nico, why did you rate it 8.5, and where did it miss some of the marker for you on this one?
You know, I think it's that I come at everything as everything starts at a 5, and you can plus or minus from there for me. And sure. I don't know that this lost points. I was, as a pansexual man, like getting Jack up there, I'm just like, Jack kind of started an accidental sexual revolution in sci-fi. Counterculture had been bubbling for years, but Jack made it cool to be in the forefront. And John Barrowman just has that ageless face that he has paid so much for. And I love that. I love him. And he is so good about that, about his sense of humor about it. I think
Nico, I got to stop you there for just a second. Was I the only one? And I'm not pleased. John Barrowman is a handsome looking man. He will die 300, a handsome looking man. I kind of felt, was there a little CGI or something going on over there? Because whenever they went back, thanks. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, Melanie's showing her little painting. Shut it. I told you I'm bad with names, especially when I'm under pressure. Showing you her painting of Jack Harkness, which will he be there at Space Coast Comic Con?
Oh, he goes everywhere with me.
Oh, he goes everywhere with you there. But I'm not downing it, but it seemed like, I don't know if that was just the impression that they were giving that it was on the ship, but every time they were filming him, it felt like it was a little off.
I think the cameras are different than they used to be. So I think we're seeing Jack from a different camera quality filter. I'll be ecstatic to see what Martha looks like in what doesn't look like a home video camera, because I am like the world's biggest Martha fan, and she better come back. So, the other thing that kind of earned me all my points this episode is I'm a diehard feminist, and I'll die on that hill. And for me, one of the things that I felt was an unfair, but I guess realistic criticism of the revival is that 13 is like the most psychic doctor in a while. And she plays into a lot of passive hero tropes that we project onto women, that the woman has to be the more passive version of every character. And for me, that's always kind of a problem, especially in Doctor Who, where the guy is supposed to be passive in the first place. He's not a fighter. He's like, he's a thinker and a problem solver. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I love the most about the War Doctor was that he was this confrontation of the things we understood about the Doctor's pacifism in this sort of duality that we could play against the Doctor visually. And I think giving us a very different take on a female Doctor right away. Number one, I've been working on a 13 cosplay, and I have to throw it out because now I am Ruth Doctor, and I don't know what else to fudging say. I'm I can't believe it's just so big. That's the biggest, and I have a giant leg gun, and so I also need her TARDIS, and so it was just so great to see this idea that the female Doctor is not one thing. The female Doctor is a duality. She's an idea, and so I'm just thrilled. I'm just really thrilled. It was like all the points.
I'm only saying this out there. If I don't see a Ruth Doctor out there in the con circuit, there's something wrong with the geekdom right now. I want to see at least one Ruth Doctor out there.
I'm going to debut my Ruth Doctor at AwesomeCon.
That's
okay.
That jacket, that double rusted jacket with all the buttons.
Oh my God. Number one, she looked like she was a member of the Black Parade, which I was absolutely thrilled with. And then she put on those glasses, and I was like, you have all the street cred. All of it. All of it, all of it. And the classic Tardis looking like she was trying to rock a pair of classic Jordans. I was just like, you are my queen. Oh, she was easily the queerest doctor as well. Everything about her coding was 1000% antithesis of what we've been getting from 13. 13 plays into this idea of a very feminized female doctor, but in a really powerfully dynamic way. She's not feminized in a way that shies away from her strength. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this doctor, Ruth Doctor, I could talk about her forever. And she was just so dynamic. And there was something about how willing she was to bluff. I don't think we've seen a bluffing doctor in a really long time. And not, I guess, in a really long time, but like the last doctor that loved to bluff was 11. 11 just liked to shout, "I'm the doctor!" And then they would play Murray's score. And then it would be, you know, "Oh no, the bad guy's running away!" And that was pretty much the fourth act reveal every episode for the Moffat run. And it was really cool to see it here. Okay, I'm done. Anyone else can talk.
That's cool. I also have a question, and please, I'm hoping nobody takes this the wrong way. I don't know why, but when I saw her get up and become the Ruth Doctor, I don't know why, it harkened back to that character from Treasure Planet. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
All I can think is Atlantis, and also the transformation from Brother Bear. And I think I'm combining things. I don't think there was an Atlantis bear.
No.
I'm like,
do you know what I'm going to have to find?
But now I need anti-Atlantis more than anything.
I will try to find it. I just remember that character, and I'm not a big fan of Treasure Planet. I just remember watching it, but there was a character in there, and I don't know why she harkened back to me on that. But anyway, Melanie, 9 1/4 Tardis, which is our first quarter cut.
Yes.
So what is?
Yes, I've taken the chainsaw and went, you know what? We're going this way now too.
What could you have left the bathroom in it? Technically, there it's got the.
I left the sign. I left the sign in some of the panels. It's like the top.
Aw.
Okay, so
9 1/4.
9 1/4. Okay, so what? So one, I really should have just stayed at 9.5. I really should have just stayed at 9.5. But anyway, because it's just as good as a Tesla one. Oh God, where to start? The only thing that didn't let me go to a 10 on this one, I think, was a little bit of the talking back and forth with with Kat and Ruth Doctor, because I wasn't sure exactly who Kat was, and then out of nowhere we just lost her too quickly. Right. But then when I got to the point where, in retrospect, thinking, okay, she clearly was Gallifreyan because the doctor, did the little contact thing again, I realized that the headpiece she was wearing had that skull cap kind of look to how some of the Time Lords used to wear. Not with she clearly didn't have the big collar, but she had that helmet.
The way they all look like Vitas, right?
Yeah, right. It had that. Yes. So I'm almost wondering if we're going like a Doctor timeline of maybe the first Doctor wasn't the first Doctor, and this is like pre-Doctor. Yeah, I really don't know that character, Christian. You're looking on YouTube. Because he's trying to pull back, I think, the Treasure Planet part. But there was a lot of things to talk about, all the great things about the episode. When the whole break the glass part, when the camera kind of panned over to look at like the button where she was going to break the glass, you kind of swear that you're starting to see Gallifreyan along the side, around the edge of it. And I just started screaming, "It's a fob watch! It's a fob watch! She was fobbed! She was fobbed!" And my husband's just looking at me like, "I only understand kind of what you're saying. What?" And then when she got into the TARDIS and I saw the chameleon arch, I was going freaking fangirl stupid at that point. But I like the fact
that sequence now.
But this episode had a lot of those parts where if you're a Doctor Who fan, you were catching those parts, and it wasn't so explanatory of all what was going on. It just said, okay, clearly you were, kept away. This episode to me felt like it was written a lot for those fans, that you're going to catch those little drips and drabbles quickly. Yeah. But if you didn't, you didn't. But yeah, the whole Jack Harkness part, I screamed to the point where I scared 3 of my cats. They went running. I was like, but
You're not the only one, trust me.
Who it was, and my husband's looking over me at the couch. He's like, "It's Jack, it's Jack, it's Jack." I'm like, "I know it's Jack, I know." So yeah, we're idiots. But I ended up telling a couple of my friends that, because I was live tweeting and just screaming, I literally would like hashtag like hit screaming incoherently. And I had a few of my friends messaging me going, "You didn't know?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I stayed away from spoilers. Are you jealous?" And then I think a lot of people are starting to get that point when they see somebody who was unspoiled watching something and enjoying something how it was supposed to be shown, that wasn't supposed to be spoiled, and kind of going, "Oh, that's what it's like to live in a spoiler-free zone." It's like, yeah, it's really awesome. You should try it. So yeah, Captain Jack being back made me extremely happy. Him completely believing that Graham was the doctor, his silver fox, and just laying it one right on him. And Graham just like, "Okay, I'm here for it, but I'm not the doc." But what? Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed this episode.
Graham is just going along the ride.
About the spoiler thing, it's also really classist to have spoilers. To say that the only people who get to enjoy something are the people who can afford to be home at the time it's on. It just, not everybody has that ability. If you're an actual doctor, you shouldn't miss out on Doctor Who because you were on call.
And especially that we live in a society now that we're not appointment viewing television people anymore. We're in a society of binging. We're in a society of DVRing, or whatever cute little term you want to call watching an episode not at the appointment time and date. So it's kind of hard to say that you're staying spoiler free. That's where I go back with as mentioned earlier, like the whole 2-day rule. Like wait a couple days. Just wait a little bit. Even if when a movie comes out, wait till like the next following week, or just be very cognizant of asking somebody, "So did you see it yet? Oh, you did?" And then go.
Let Skywalker rise before you tell everyone.
Well, now I have this image in my head, thanks to what he just said, of, some doctor like in the middle of a quadruple bypass, so they look up, "Wait, the show's wrong. Show's on. Get a TV in here."
They're getting distracted. They're like quadruple bypass, 2 hearts. That's an 8-druple bypass.
But here's the worst part. They're about halfway through the surgery, and then the Captain Jack scene comes on. Oh,
Yeah.
Captain Jack causes riot. Doctors explode hearts everywhere. Apologetic.
Anesthesiologists are screaming.
Even worse if the surgeon is going through their phone and catch John Barham and telling them, "Hey, I was on the show," while he's doing him in surgery. Like, oh boy.
I did love his little note about nanogenes. It has to be why is it always nanogenes? It's all those little tiny little bits again that, if you've been watching and you remember all those nuances of Doctor Who that you're catching, like, I remember that.
I can't wait to be there for the signing of the Barrowman Instagram laws.
Hang on a second. We're almost on a commercial break, and I want to get Brian in here. Brian, you rated it at 10. We got a minute left, so
commercial now.
Was the way they pulled this off, though, because John Barrowman told everybody he was doing a house renovation while he was in Cardiff for his place that he kept over there. And I was always thinking, I was like, wow, does this mean that was like Queer Eye for the Alibi? It just popped into my head. That was
on Netflix in February.
Plus the place they filmed at Clifton Cathedral, really nice. They have some pictures up on Twitter now of it as it is normally. Beautiful space, and I just thought it was an excellent place, to film at. Really well done. But I'll go on further after the break.
Okay, well, we're going to get more from Brian when we return here on the review of Fugitive of the Judoon. Please continue to stay logged on, stay tuned in, and always become part of the legend.
Now on Amazon.com, iCoin from author Jeremy Mosby. It's an alternate reality, and the leader of the planet iCoin is none other than Benjamin Franklin. When corrupt officials threaten not only iCoin but the Earth as well, an unlikely chosen one, Jeremy, must face dark foes to save the Earth and iCoin alike. Author Jeremy Mosby takes readers on a superhero's adventure through this compelling and imaginative alternate universe. Get iCoin on Amazon.com today.
Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis, where you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, on Krypton Radio, on Apple Podcasts, on CBS Radio's radio.com, or anywhere else in the known social media universe. Thank you for joining us and welcome back here. We are going to continue our review of The Fugitive of the Judoon, and we were talking with Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress. He rated it a 10. Please continue, Doctor. Why did you rate this a 10?
I don't hand out 10s as frequently as some people think I do. It's just a lot of the things that, it wasn't just about the episode itself, it was the effect on the audience. I saw a lot more people for the first time in a long time talking more positively about Doctor Who than they have in a while. And that right there really, upped the score for me. We now have this mystery that's, obviously not going to be, probably not wrapped up in a little bit. It's got people talking. It's got people interested. It's got people hooked back in. And it's got them thinking. I've seen so many theories now about the Ruth Doctor, which I found kind of peculiar. Isn't it weird that Ruth just happens to be an anagram for hurt? I don't know. But it's just me. But also the content itself, very well shot, very well done. The Judoon, they really did an amazing job on them. They look even more detailed now than they did in their previous appearances. The prosthetics were magnificent. The performances, as usual, being the Judoon, you get just a bit of a chuckle factor in there because they're so straight on, direct forward, but then they also do these things that remind you like the Keystone Cops. But also thrown in there, the reappearance of Captain Jack. Now, I've met John Barrowman like a couple times, and he's been very, very passionate about this character returning. And just the fact that he got the chance to do it, you could see the light in his eyes, like he's about to have, he was just so happy to do it. You can see it.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing they were able to write him back. And plus the fact that they brought him in such a brilliant way, because he is taking the companions out of the story, but he's there to provide the foreshadowing and of things that are going to be coming up a little bit further on, and he does it in that sinister Captain Jack way that, something bad's coming when he starts talking like that. But also, let's go on, to the Ruth Doctor mystery. Just the clues they threw in there, like a lot of people pointed out, well, there's only one headstone. I was thinking, well, if you were, say, the Doctor, you're under a chameleon influence, but maybe there's just a little bit of you there. The first thing you would have noticed is, if my parents are buried there, why is there only one headstone and why is it blank? There's supposed to be two of them. So I thought that was a really nifty twist that there was just a single headstone there denote in that spot when there should be two of them for each of the parents. Given the shape that they used. The lighthouse location, brilliant. By the way, it's also a bed and breakfast owned by Whovians. And yes, they do, I believe, I think they said they have like a changing room in there or something like that. That's an actual TARDIS. Yes. I read this in an article just the other day. And I thought that was fascinating. And it's owned by Whovians. So nice
field trip. We're going. Let's go.
Plus, but what really stood out is the fact that this season, it's not every episode they come back from whatever's just happened and everything's fine, everything's happy-go-lucky. You can see the effect these events are having on the Doctor, and she's starting to lash out back at the companions because she can't solve the problem. On one side, she's looking for the master, because she's convinced that he's probably somehow escaped the Kasarvan. And then you throw on this whole Ruth thing when she's walking down that street, just before they tell her they've met Captain Jack. That look on her face is like, my God, she's carrying the weight of the universe on her shoulders. She doesn't know what to make of all this. And I just thought that was brilliantly done. So it's just not consequence free anymore. Something is going on, and you can see it starting to weigh on the characters more and more as we go along.
There's something I want to harken back to with an interview with Stephen Moffat when they were talking about, I think, excuse me, we were talking about, I think it was around the 50th anniversary, or it was slightly before that, when Matt Smith was leaving, that he said that, I'm paraphrasing, I'm trying to remember what he said, but he said, as we're going forward, Whovians are going to become uncomfortable for the direction of what's going to go. He was referring to classic Whovians. But the idea is that we have to evolve and change. If this show is going to run another 50 years beyond me, or another 100, or going to have David Tennant III as the 86th Doctor out there, there's got to be some kind of, yeah, Melanie likes that. There's got to be some kind of change and evolution. The old way of doing it for the first 26 years can't always be the way. Now, we don't abandon where we come from, but we do move forward from where we started, and we keep going to do that. Having said that, this is the first time ever I'm going to give Chris Chibnall a bump, a fist bump, because I think this episode of what's that?
He's gonna punch him in the face.
Well, Series 11 won't do that. But this one I'm going to give him a fist bump because I think he took a chance and it executed well. And I think this is the direction we're going to have to take. Now, I'm going to give a prediction that I haven't seen out there yet. They've used the word alternate universes, or the Joe Martin, who plays the other doctor, the Roof Doctor. I'm going to say we're starting, for a better term, an MCU for the Doctor Who universe, where it's just going to be unlimited. We're not going to be limited to regenerations. There will be other doctors. We can have other people coming in playing the Doctor from different universes, from different takes, from different worlds. Hell, Simon Fisher Becker could be a doctor.
Yes, please. You're one of the
To make a connection to Marvel, number one, I can't get this whole Hurt Ruth thing. I'm like, it's John. It's because didn't John Hurt play the War Doctor?
Yeah.
So the revealed Doctor, the second revealed Doctor's name is kind of like a tribute to the first revealed Doctor. It's so cute. But beyond that, I can't stop thinking about X-Men, which I don't know anybody here reads X-Men currently. But so are you a Hickman fan? The Hickman reboot? I'm a huge Hickman fan. On Mondays, X's for Podcast covers the Hickman reboot of X-Men in weekly detail. And part of what we do is we talk about how the X-Men had hit a stagnant point after 50 years. They just couldn't move forward. And now the X-Men are magically linked to a psychic immortal island. And that's the plot of the X-Men. Every book is now about the connection to Krakoa. And it's taken the X-Men in such exciting places. They haven't seen sales like this in 20 years. They haven't seen sales like this as a line in some considerable time. And it was taking the chance and being brave and doing something that they've just never done before. Right. You know, I understand there's the fear of when something's always looked a certain way, changing the aesthetic. You know, that was a space that white men traditionally occupied. And now you've got a white woman and you have a woman of color, and it's fascinating. But beyond that, canon should update with the way sci-fi has updated. In the 60s, we were not looking at the same level of multiversity as we are now. And for Doctor Who to stay a compelling, ahead-of-the-curve franchise, they need to be willing to make these sorts of chances. And sometimes it'll be a misstep, and people won't love it. I am looking at you, iPod Daleks. But sometimes it's going to be friggin' awesome. And it's going to be 2 lady doctors in one episode! And it's going to be awesome.
When they first said that her name was Ruth, the one that, because I have a couple aunts that are named Ruth in my family, where I know like the meaning of the name, because you see that when those little plaques are saying the name Ruth, it means friend or companion. And so at first I was thinking, oh, she's coming back as a companion. So when they made her a doctor, that kind of really full on swerved me. So I was like, ooh, just because you brought up the whole name of the Ruth etymology. Fun fact.
Well, there's just been a lot of people going on about, why are they changing things? Why are they doing that? And I'm like, Doctor Who wouldn't exist if it hadn't been for the way it changes and evolves all along. Like, for one, the Time Lords weren't mentioned until the War Games. So, and then you had the Doctor didn't have 2 hearts, I think, until like Spearhead from Space. Gallifrey wasn't named until the Time Warrior. Regeneration didn't even get a proper term until Pertwee's last episode, Planet of the Spiders. Without these subtle little changes, we were learning more and more and adding more and more to the story. It would have died a long time ago. Sure, change brings risk, but without taking a risk and without change, it would just get stagnant, like he said, and have died a long time ago.
And in this episode, I just think it paid off. I really think that if you had told me they're going to make an episode where they're going to introduce another doctor, that they're going to bring back Jack, they're going to do all these little things and they're all going to do it in one episode, I would almost think on paper, I don't know if you're going to be able to do it, but the writer of this episode and the DP, whoever directed, I can't remember who did it this time off the top of my head, but oh my God, y'all really put something amazing on film and presented it, honestly.
Simon, I think it was just a big concern because I did one thing that goes against my principle as far as being the show host here. One of the things I try not to do, and that it was hard not to do it, but I try not to read other people's comments because when I come on the show, I don't want to be influenced by other people. And here, the thing is that I think growing up classic Who, I think a lot of people are kind of a nerdy. The best line that I've ever heard with Star Trek VI, William Shatner going, people can be frightened of change. And that's the hardest thing to do, especially for people who are, so emboldened that this is the first Doctor, the second Doctor, third Doctor. I think even War Doctor may have thrown people off over there. I know, Nico, you have a little bit of an odd face on that one, but
I love what I Star Trek VI is bad.
Oh,
it's just bad. It's just, you're totally right. But
Brian.
There were great lines. I'm going to say there were great lines from Star Trek VI. The scene between Spock and Kirk, and the line that he goes, we're both extremists for reality somewhere in the middle, stuff like that. That's some of the best lines I think came from them there. But anyway, Simon, what do you think about people who might be frightened of change?
Well, I'm a person who doesn't like change for change's sake.
Yes.
I'm very much, if it works, why fix it? But I also like change when necessary. And particularly with Doctor Who, you've touched on it. Forever people are saying, well, that can't happen because way back in Patrick Troughton's day, this, that, and the other. But the way the fans accept it is a couple of sentences are made, and then the fans accept, oh, right, okay, that's changed. It's not very difficult at all. And as for me being the Doctor, I have to say I did sow the seed that, in fact, Dorium is a Doctor of the future. And that's why he knows so much. I just love that idea.
You'd be the Doctor. I would buy the action figure. I would get the Blu-ray. I would watch you on Netflix. I would just save you on my DVR. I mean, I would just Simon as the Doctor. Come on.
But
Doctor, I've been on a show with this Doctor. This is my Doctor.
Not to mention, three of them, the Tardis are the same color.
As you say, the whole point of Doctor Who and the real reason for its success is because with the regeneration, you have a different Doctor with different types of things going on all the time, and you need that sort of change to keep it going. Otherwise, it could become dated.
Yeah, that is true. But like you said, if it's just for change's sake, it's not good unless it's going to enhance what came and make it a heck of a lot better. As aside from putting, for a better term, a hood ornament on a tractor, it's supposed to make it look good and improve it in some way. But I have a statement for everybody before we go on to commercial break, and this is a popular, non-popular statement because everybody says the same thing. The statement that was made was Joe Martin is a far superior Doctor than Jodie Whittaker. We're going to let everybody hit that up when we return to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. When we return, we're going to hit that question, and we're going to talk about Simon's book. Please stay logged on, please stay tuned in, and continue to become part of the legend.
Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish.
Santa, if there's one thing I want for Christmas more than anything, it's someone to spend Christmas with. Someone who really wants me to be there.
Head to the mountains of East Tennessee with romance author Jenna Hart for a Christmas writer's workshop. Since her mother passed after a long illness, Jenna has had one wish. She doesn't want to spend Christmas alone. Meeting Niccolo Maldini, cover model and actor, could make more than Jenna's Christmas wish come true. Unless Ember, Niccolo's ex-girlfriend, does something crazy to stop them from being together.
It's a mountain Christmas romance you won't want to miss in Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish. Now on Amazon.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final segment of the What Are You Laughing At? Did I
Was it me
I
voting?
went too soon?
No, it's me and Simon counting back.
I've got all my fingers mixed up there too. All I could, I've got.
It's gonna have a treat.
Yeah, if,
Yeah,
for those of you
I
just listening. No, go ahead, Simon. If you're just listening to the show, you're not getting the enjoyment. The YouTube channel, you can see them doing the countdown. So they're doing their fingers. Everybody's off, and I was just, never mind. Watch the YouTube show. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it there. I've got Melanie, Simon. I've got Kevo. I've got Nico, Kevo's better half, and I've got Brian. And I'm going to lose my mind. Anyway, welcome back there, folks. Simon, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just saying I have dyslexic fingers. That's all. So. I think that's the only way to describe it. So, what was your? I really appalled at this suggestion that Joe Martin is better than Jodie Whittaker.
This is what you're saying on the internet.
Yeah, that's absolutely. They're like we said before the commercial break. With each doctor, you get a different doctor, and they are very different, contrasting doctors. I know. I've seen Joe Martin in other shows. I've even seen her on stage, and she does generally play very assertive and strong women, whereas Jodie is playing a strong personality, but with a slightly lighter touch. That's all. They're just different doctors. But to say one actor is better than another, I think, is appalling.
Well, and because we had 10 seconds of one of them. What's better, The Wizard of Oz or Frank L. Baum's Complete Oz Works? Like,
yes.
But I'm just parroting what I've read. They said that people liked Joe's interpretation of the Doctor for about 15 minutes and Jodie's time as the entire Doctor. And this is not coming from me, but I've got to admit I was really, really enjoying Joe's Doctor. I really saw stuff, and please, I'm trying not to belittle Jodie because I love Jodie too, but I finally saw the space god, and even though she was carrying a weapon and stuff like that, she parroted a lot of what I thought was interesting because Jodie's Doctor kind of rebuked her. But if you notice, a lot of the things that Joe was doing, including the scene where she hands the bad guy. What was her name? I can't even remember it.
Cat, was it?
Cat or something like that. Yeah. Cat. I'll look it up. Cat.
She was amazing.
Hands the gun and she goes, "Don't shoot it." And she goes, "I'm gonna, I'm paraphrasing. It's like, well, I'm gonna shoot you." And she goes, "I'm warning you." That's what the Doctor's done before. So it's funny that Jodie didn't even recognize it. That's what she's done before as the Doctor. She's actually played, especially the seventh Doctor. She's manipulated the game and just said, "Listen, don't shoot me." And then I gave you a choice. It's also parroted in David Tennant's time as Doctor. I gave you a choice.
But why are we comparing women though? Like, because like no one's saying, "Oh, she's a better Doctor than Matt Smith," or "She's a better Doctor than Peter Capaldi." They're saying compare the two ideas that are right there because they're easy to compare. But I didn't hear anybody say, "Oh, well, the War Doctor was much better than 11." Like, I didn't hear anybody say, "Finally, a Doctor we've been waiting for." I think it's this inherent desire as a culture to compare women in a way we don't compare men. Nobody said Julio Iglesias and Ricky Martin, when the Latin explosion happened, were the same person. Mm-hmm. They said, "Oh, they're two different kinds of the same idea. One's dance music and one's a little bit more samba." When Britney and Christina came out, they said, "Oh, they're the same girl." And NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, "Oh, but Justin Timberlake is one guy and the Backstreet Boys are another." Like, as a culture, we popularly simplify women and reduce it down to compare these two ideas. But until I see people say, "Oh, she's a better Doctor than David Tennant. She's a better Doctor than Chris Eccleston," I feel like it's just people looking to tear down the change in Doctor Who because there's not enough substantive reasoning with 20 minutes of footage to compare. You can't compare 20 minutes of footage to a series and a half. It's reductive And it makes it sound like you don't understand what media, not you in particular, but like fandom at large. It makes it sound like they don't understand what media is.
No.
Yeah, I don't
Nico,
understand why I was going to say is I don't understand when it comes to that basis of the comments, like why are we comparing the two? Why is one? Why is there? It's black and white. It's win or lose, or who's better? Okay, this one's better than this one because and this one fails. It's like no, that we've never had. Any other time we've had other doctors, we said, oh, I like this doctor better. Oh, I don't like this doctor as better as this one or this one. But we never had to have one character and go, this one should have been the other. This should have been the doctor.
This should have been the doctor.
That's where I get that comment, and I see a lot of those comments. It's like, oh, well, Joe should have been the doctor. I'm like, why? Because she's no nonsense, which I love about her. I love the fact that the Ruth doctor is just very straight by the book. She's very no nonsense, as the perfect word, assertive. You could see that she had that characterization already. That Joe Martin came in going, okay, this is my doctor. I've already got my character filled out. This is what I'm going to do with this role. Whereas when you come into the role of a doctor with whether it be a Tennant or even freaking Colin Baker, you as an actor back then you weren't allowed to have full reign over what your doctor was going to be. The showrunner who had the feel of what this doctor's going to be, the costume, and then they had the producer had the idea of what how the doctor's going to dress and everything. So at least here, when you have this particular doctor, it seems like Joe kind of came in and was able to make that character because it wasn't going to be the doctor that's going to be going to be the face of merchandising and sales and monetization for the BBC.
See, Brian, I'm going back into the past. How many times has we say we don't want to compare things, but how many times has Colin Baker been thrown under the bus every time they have a poll, every time they have a vote and everything? And it's a natural human thing to compare things no matter what, because especially when it comes to Doctor Who, it may not be the moral thing, it may not be the right thing, but it's a natural thing that just people end up doing. How many times did the Radio Times put out, Colin Baker is the worst doctor? I'm just like sitting here going, shut up. And like I said, it could have also, in my perspective, that I think the doctor that they wrote may have dwarfed out what Jodie was doing the whole time, because I think people saw more of the Doctor as far as the core of what it was taking place in the classic and new, as far as what we've seen, and maybe they haven't reflected on Jodie. I don't know. It may not be like the best thing to do to compare doctors, but we're going to do it. That's the thing. There's nothing going to stop it. All we can do is rise. Go ahead.
It's one thing to compare doctors, right? Like saying, oh, this doctor's had 12 episodes and I think they're a bad doctor. But this is literally saying, oh, this doctor, she's been in 20 minutes and she's better than the doctor we've had for a series and a half. It's inherently reductive. No one's saying, oh, is she a better doctor? They're saying this one's better than that one. It's all in the language. It's in the phrasing. It's in the comparative nature. I would need to see if people wrote, John Hurt is the doctor that I wanted, not Matt Smith. Because it needs to be the same idea. Don't compare watermelons to shoes. Compare a doctor who's had a 20-minute appearance directly in another doctor's story and see how people reacted. I feel like it's a little bit, I feel like people are like, wow, John Hurt, he was so cool. Look at those 3 doctors together. That was awesome. I don't think people were like, erase Matt Smith. I wish it was John Hurt.
I think it's a matter of there's a difference between doing a sample size of every other list we've had of rank the doctors has been 1 through 14. Why are we doing Jodie 1-1?
Yeah, thank you. It's reductive of what I think is going to be an influential era on Doctor Who.
Brian?
Yeah, you see, like I've always said, I never compare the doctors. If people are always asking me, what's my favorite doctor? And I'm like, all of them.
They're the same alien.
Exactly. They're each representing a different aspect of what is essentially the same person. And each one's giving, the best performance they can at the time with the writing, the directing, and all that's available at that time. So therefore, I don't feel, proper, say, like Colin Baker, as you brought up. Colin Baker got thrown under the bus. It wasn't his fault the things happened to him that happened to him. He didn't like the costume he got stuck with. Matter of fact, one of his favorite quotes is the best thing he loved about his outfit was the fact he didn't actually have to see himself wearing it.
And remember, this was the doctor that only had 2-3 minutes before after his regeneration that anybody see, and that was it. And he was just being, and I could see why people thought he was a jerk. because
then
he
you
kind
had
of was
people
making sure.
for years
Yeah.
blaming Sylvester McCoy and all that for the death of the original series, which was completely unfair.
Yeah.
It was politics that killed it back. It wasn't Sylvester McCoy. He gave brilliant performances. I enjoy his as much as I do Tom Baker, John, all the rest of them put together. They all form that same core person. Therefore, I feel it's fair to rate, unfair to rate them. But social media, people like to throw up polls every now and then. That just happens to be one of the favorite ones. But I do agree, we can't compare Jodie to someone who's just come on literally that episode. That don't feel fair to me at all.
Okay. Well, if anybody we got to get to Simon and his book. But does anybody want to take a chance of what I rated this episode?
I'm going to assume you gave it like a 9.
Okay. Melanie?
Well, I kind of know the answer,
know.
so
Brian?
I'm going to go with his wild guess. I'd say about a 9.
9. Simon, what did you think?
8.5.
Yeah. Simon is the closest.
There's an 8.
I gave it an 8. So that was my rating there, folks. Speaking
Maybe
of Simon
really is the doctor, you guys.
He is.
I think so.
That's why I bring him on the show. I want a real doctor on my show. I got him.
I'm really excited for the direct exclusive variant of your figure that comes with your own little TARDIS, a little mini TARDIS lantern. I'm picking your props for your toy. You're welcome. I just really want a doctor to carry a mini TARDIS in a lantern. Like, that's what I want. I want it to be like, do, I've got a lantern. That's all I want.
Egon's gone bye-bye, Simon. Tell us a little bit about your new book there. Tell us a bit about your new book. My Dalek has another puncture.
Yeah, well, it's the second in a trilogy of autobiographical anecdotes telling the story of my life. The first one was up to the point of being offered Dorium in Doctor Who, and then another puncture is telling the story of how things have changed for me, along with other anecdotes about all sorts of things that fans have talked to me about. And it talks a lot more about Doctor Who. It talks about the fans, and of course all the new friends I made, and it even mentions things that might happen in the future.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So what was it easier to write the first book or the second? And you did a stage play of the first book.
Well, what made it easier for both is that I've done a stage version of both.
Oh, okay.
And
so there is. Okay.
So when it was in fact doing the first tour for the first I by good fortune I had a publisher come into the audience one evening, Dan Grubb from Fantastic Book Publishing, and at the end of the show, whatever I said, there was something that meant something to him, and on the back of the program he drew me up a draft contract. He said, "You've got to put this in book form." And he said, "And I want it to be a trilogy." So that's it.
That's awesome.
The main issue I've had with some fans who've got the books is that the covers on both of them look very similar. So this is My Dalek Has Another Puncture, and this is the first book.
Okay.
My Dalek Has a Puncture. They're very similar. It's it's something. I wanted
change the font, maybe.
Yeah.
Photos.
I had no control of it. I actually asked that each book would be a different color, so that at least people could see it. But I've been informed for artistic reasons, pardon me, to have the trilogy all looking exactly the same works. But I can say this because I've had the conversation with Dan. I disagree. But there we go. Because the number of times people have, when I've been promoting it, says, "Oh, I've already got it," and I've had to say, "Well, no, this is the new book." But there are subtle differences to the covers.
Okay.
There are subtle differences, but you can only notice them if you pick them up and put them very close to your eyes.
If World album covers.
For example, if I'm working
Simon, could you put the covers back up just for our YouTube audience, just as just so if we can see the subtle differences again?
Honestly, the spine should at least be different. So when you have them on a bookshelf, you can see you have the first, second, third.
Yeah. Right.
Now put the other one up beside it.
That's the first one, my Dalek puncture. And just look at all the pictures they've got in their frames.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
This is very much spot the difference. Okay, and then this is the second book.
I'm having a Porygon moment.
And the difference is, I can tell you, there's a different picture on the top left-hand side.
It's like highlight.
A very subtle difference.
For example, my Dalek has a puncture. The top middle photograph, picture is a top hat, right? Yeah. And in another puncture, the middle picture is a clapperboard.
They use the same frames. They literally use the exact same picture frames too.
I would be at the Costco looking around, going, Simon, I can't find your other book. What are you talking about?
The pictures are different, but there we go.
Are the pictures at least kind of like? Do they match the interior? Like, do the pictures on the cover kind of fit the stories from inside as well?
Yes. Yes,
oh, that's really cool. Like, and like for the audience, would you be able to like, and are there any special ones, like anything on the cover that like a special thing that made it on that you're particularly proud of?
Well, on the cover?
Like any of the images on the cover, are they like special moments from your career that you're like just so stoked about that it's on there?
Well, the fact that I've got 2 of 3 books published.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Is enough for me when my English teacher told me I would amount to nothing. So she will be spinning in her grave now. And not only did she say I would amount to nothing, but she announced it to the entire class.
Oh, she's a
so she gets a mention.
Good.
You'll never. It's anecdotal stories about my life. I've found that a lot of fans have said, when you said ... and then they give their own example of a similar incident, and as a result, I've become a sort of agony uncle. Yeah, and so a lot of what fans have fed back to me will appear in the third of the trilogy, Let Zygons Be Zygons, which hopefully will be out by November this year, awesome. if not before. And all my books and ebook versions can be got from Amazon.
Gotcha.
Just type in Dalek puncture, and it should come up.
See, Nico, I'm going to wait until the third book comes out so I can get the special edition with the little action figure with his little lantern and everything that comes with it from Target. Yeah. So yes, I'm going to get that. So I get the special trilogy there. So everybody check out Simon. Go ahead.
I already have a collection. That's my little Titan action figure.
Oh my God. Yeah. If you're watching on the YouTube, you're loving this. If you're not, you got to catch us on YouTube.
Yes, Titan figures have got a Dorium figure.
Oh my God!
Please still sort it out. Yeah. So all the information is on my website, which is fisherbecker.info.
Gotcha. And if you're listening to this episode, we're going to have all the links to Simon's book. Check him out. You can check it on Amazon, wherever the books are sold. We're also going to have it on the Legend of the Traveling Tardis periodically. So if you want to check out the link, by all means, go ahead. Thank you, Simon, for coming on. Nico, check out Nico and Kevo on Husbands Talking More or Less. You got to check it out there. Brian Burress, Dr. Freedom on YouTube. Look him up out there. And, of course, Melanie Dean and I were going to be on the circuit going places for our convention. That's it. We're wrapping up today, folks. We hope you enjoyed. Please continue to stay logged on, stay tuned in, and thank you for becoming part of the legend.